So let's talk about this big, beautiful bill that Trump is trying to push through. Um, if he wants Democratic votes, and he's going to need them, he's going to have to roll back the Medicare cuts, Medicaid cuts, which are mean. I mean, they're basically, they will make it, they will force people who lack documentation or lose their Medicaid to instead depend on the bankruptcy or the insurance medical charities fund that everybody has in their states. So it's not going to make anybody more healthy. It's not going to deny anybody. It'll deny people health care that's cheaper for them. That just means that health care is going to be more expensive for people. So yeah, it's not going. These cuts aren't going to last. SNAP the same way. I mean, people will. It's just, you know. And here's the thing, on the debt, you got to have enough debt to both carry net interest payments and the growth of the money supply. Now, there's a way to cut the debt if you really want to by cutting back on capitalism. But if you're going to have capitalism, you've got to have an adequate debt, because that money has to go into funds that then leverage other funds. So what you do when you're a funds manager, and it needs, you know, hayseeds from wherever the red states are from don't know this, you need to have some debt in there in your mutual funds, and especially in your retirement accounts and other balanced funds, retirement and 401k, but just pension funds, to be able to put in the higher value funds, and also when people are cutting back on their for safer investments, they're going to need to have more debt to get out of the market. Now the market is too hot. It needs to have higher capital gains taxes to get it unhot. You know, that capital gains, business, all returns on capital pass through should be 26%. You know, then we have long-term, not balance, but it would deflate the market enough so there wouldn't be like junk in the market. Right now there's junk. You know, there's all kinds of bonds that are hiding crypto and mortgage-backed securities, and on both commercial property and on single-family rentals, that just, you know, the assets are not worth, especially since, you know, landlords think that they can write a lease and say, you know, no, we're not going to do the maintenance on single-family homes that are rentals. And it's like, no, you got to do the maintenance or your property is going to suffer. They're taking and running, or they took and ran and, you know, got their bonds, and now there's junk, lots of junk. So, I mean, yeah, and investors are jumping out. So, and, you know, the Fed needs to buy bonds, but they have to be available to buy so that it can then leverage money. So, you know, there's this myth that they just, you know, push a button. No, don't do that in this country. To do fractional reserve banking, you have to have savings bonds that go to the banks and that go to the Fed, and then they, you know, make loans that are leveraged by the debt. So, you know, this version of, you know, modern money management, or whatever the hell it's called. No, it's not a thing. So, yeah, if you want capitalism, then you got to have a decent-sized debt. If you want to rein capitalism in, raise capital gains taxes and dividend taxes and all that other stuff. and then and then you can balance, go toward balance without hurting the economy. All you'll be hurting is junk. So, that's the reality of the situation. So, there's a lot of idiots on Capitol Hill in the Republican caucus, both in the staff side and the, I think leadership knows what it's doing. Well, Taylor Greene doesn't know, but the people who want to get themselves into Fox News or get a lobbyist job. Although, if I was looking for lobbyists and somebody was voting for such stupidity, especially or leading the charge for stupidity, that like broke the triple, was the last one to break the AAA bond rating, I wouldn't look for a job and just like go back to what you were doing or retire. Yeah, because you're going to be out of office and nobody's going to hire you because it's a mess. So, and you're looking bad. That's the thing. It's embarrassing to see. It's embarrassing to look at incompetence like this. So, I mean, just in the Congress, I'm not even talking about the White House and their merry band of idiots. So, that will be overturned by the courts. Steve Noam and Pam Bondi, they're not going to be impeached, but they're going to get burnt out. Somebody's going to tell them, "You're looking stupid. Don't do that." I guess they don't care. People, people have no pride. So, they aren't qualified and they're demonstrably not even intelligent. So, yeah, it's just sad. But Congress takes the cake. So now on the rest of the tax cuts, a lot of the tax cuts that are being put in are the ones that go to working class families, and they're increasing them. In fact, 2,500 isn't 3,000, but I'll take it. Even though I don't have any kids anymore, but it'll help. It'll help. It's starting to make a difference, as long as they make it refundable. If they don't, then it's it's a middle class rather than a working class thing, or a lower or an upper working class benefit. But yeah, all the damage was done to the working class by the parts of the bill that were, I guess, bipartisan enough to get passed as permanent law. It amazes me that they had the votes for that. But I guess the tax rate on the 39% tax rate on businesses, it's too high. So, you can have a VAT that's that high, and as long as you give back some of it to employees. But I've talked about that much too. But I don't think this gang can do long-term tax reform. They could have. They chose not to. They're doing tariffs, and tariffs on China do need to be higher. I've got a thing that I'm doing that I'm going to send over to the Trade Subcommittee and Ways and Means about recommended tariffs, which are both the difference between GDP per capita in the States versus the developing world, or our major trading partners, which are in the developing world. Like Bangladesh and China, Vietnam, their workers are, really low wage compared to ours. Um, so, they should get more money, but we can't mandate that. We can only make sure that they're not ripping us off. Trump's right about that. Neoliberalism is dead. So globalization may help the poor, or it may not. Whether they do a revolution or not in China and Vietnam, probably not. Revolutions come from the middle class. They don't come from the poor. There's no such thing as a peasant revolution, unless you're looking to put a dictatorship in, and they've already got a dictatorship in both Russia and China and Vietnam. So not so much in Bangladesh, I think, but yeah. So if we had cooperatives here, and the cooperatives gave the same deal to their suppliers and their foreign subsidiaries, the foreign factories that make stuff for them, so that they had the same standard of living, across countries, then it would be a transfer pricing issue, not a tariff issue, and prices would still go up for Americans, unless of course you have cooperatives making their own stuff, then it doesn't go into the market, and then you don't have to worry about such things as the guarantee of maximum financial output. So, if you do your business if your business model includes consumption as well as production, and finance as well as that, you can do a lot of fun with transfer pricing, and do a lot of international justice. But that's not this budget, and that's not these tariffs. But the tariffs could be as low as the VATs. They've got to at least be the VAT amount that's being taken. So it's like, trade with Ontario needs to have the 13% VAT applied to it. Although I'm going to just send stuff from Saskatchewan and ship it to there. So it's got to be 13 on all of Canada, and 13 on all of China, and 13 from Germany. And some countries it should be like 21% or more in Europe, because they've got some pretty high VAT countries. So that's the budget. The one thing in the budget that's the giveaway is keeping estate tax rules the same as they have been for a few years, to not raise the estate tax. This is what they're talking about when they're talking about it's a giveaway to the wealthy. No, it's just the same stuff. Same stuff, different year. It's not doing anything else for business income. And it's the blatant racism of the Medicaid and food stamp cuts that are mainly going to immigrants, and generally poor people, mostly to immigrants who need the help. It's the bill should pass, but without the SNAP and food stamp and Medicaid cuts. So this kind of has to. So, unless you want to repeal capitalism, and I don't think they're ready to do that yet. So, big beautiful bill.